This week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast is brought to you by the Craft Beer Marketing Awards. The Craft Beer Marketing Awards was founded in 2019 and is the only global awards competition to celebrate and focus on the growing importance of craft beer marketing and design strategy as a key to success in standing out among other brands on the market shelf. Co-founded by Jim McCunn and Jackie de Bella, the CBMS is the only global scale marketing competition to put a spotlight on the growing critical aspect of creative marketing as key to breweries' business success. Boasting a judging panel of over 500 beverage and beer industry professionals worldwide in over 24 countries, making the CBMAS the largest awards program of its kind in the world, with well-known judges including Ralph Steadman, David Carson, Tara Nurin, Zane Lumphrey, and John Cotino. Entries are divided up into 5 regions across the globe: the Americas, United Kingdom, Europe, APAC, and MENA. Many design companies and agencies are taking notice and submitting their work. The deadline has been increased to the 14th of March 2022. So do get involved if you're in this industry and you want to show the importance of your creative work to your client's business. And if you're a brewery, come and show off the fantastic marketing and creative work that you've been doing to get your beer out there to the public. The upcoming award celebration will take place the week of 2022 Craft Brewers Conference in May in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. For more information, go to craftbeermarketingawards.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the I'll Try That podcast.
The what?
The I'll Try That podcast.
Excellent. Carry on.
This week, we're going to be travelling to the southwest of the UK to visit Bristol and Arbor Ales.
Arbor.
But first, I'm going to go from Arbor to Barber.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
And back again. Rich, you got a hot topic for us?
Yeah, I got one for you. So we're going to be discussing beer subscriptions.
Yep.
Today. I believe. Barber, have you had a beer subscription before?
Not a subscription. I did the skullduggery of having signed up for the free one at the start and then deciding I didn't want to pay for it for a 12-month basis.
Which beer subscription did you do that to?
Beer 52.
Okay. So I was a long-standing Beer 52 member for about a year. I've also done a couple of months of Flavorly, and I did.
Hi, I'm Joe. I am a long-standing.
Yeah. It does feel like an admission because I've stopped all these now, but I have stopped. I've changed my ways.
Okay.
And I did the Beer Hawk for a few months as well.
Oh, okay. So I was a Beer 52 subscriber for a long time, but of course
That came to an end ultimately as well.
Yeah, that also came to an end. But so I've come across an article from Which. So we know Which is famous.
Magazine.
Which magazine.
Do a lot of comparison things, don't
they? On brooms mainly.
and electrical appliances.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for a new washing machine, I'm going to Which.
Yeah. So they will give you, but they've also done a comparison for beer subscriptions and which one is the most affordable. So I didn't realise how many beer subscriptions there actually were out there.
Loads.
I bet there's hundreds. Yeah.
And,
well, I just named 3 that I've been personally a part of.
Yeah, and of course all of those 3 are on the list, Joe.
Of course.
That you mentioned.
I didn't make them up.
It would be a really weird lie.
I also did the
lampshades.
The lampshade swappers.
So, what were the results, Rich?
So
I'm curious to know what the results were.
So there's
not of the lampshade swappers.
Which ones came out on top?
So there was there's other suppliers such as the Beer Merchants, Beer Wolf do one. Brewdog. Brewdog do.
Yeah. I did Brewdog for a while as well. Missed that off the list.
Joe, have you done every single one of these subscriptions?
No, I didn't even heard of Beer Wolf before, but I'm going to look them up in a second.
Yeah.
I quite like that as a clever name because it's Beowulf, isn't it? Beowulf, Beowulf, yeah.
One that interested me a bit, there was something called the Dry Drinkers, which is a non-alcoholic beer subscription service.
Yep, they're getting really popular there, aren't they?
Getting really big out there, sort of thing. Flavorly, which we spoke about, Honest Brew, Virgin Wine Box, but Beer Box.
Oh, okay.
So Virgin have thrown one out there as well. Old Richard Branson in his spaceship sipping beer. But it was so basically with the article they said it was very hard to actually come down to which one was the most best for money because there was more expensive ones that gave you more beer, ones that gave you less beer weekly and everything like that.
There's also, I suppose, you've got to factor in like flexibility of the terms of the subscription. Probably makes a big difference, and also because I know some of them have said, look, if you don't particularly like dark beer, you can just have like light beer or something like that. So I imagine there's quite a lot to factor in terms of coming to a winner.
Yeah.
How have they managed to create a comparison across them then?
So what they've done is that basically, in essence, they had to go for what was the cheapest box that you could get for your money for 8 beers.
That makes sense.
Which was the general. You can be with like Beer 52. You can add some more beer, you can add less beer, and it seems to be the same for every single company. But the one that they went for was 8 beers, was a consistent across all of them, and that was from Flavorly Craft Beer Club,
cheapest one,
and that came down to $19.90 a month for 8 beers.
Okay.
But then they kind of put it into comparison with, I know you're getting a large selection of different beers that you wouldn't go and buy for, but they put it, the price of a case of beer ranges an average, the lowest one was £9 in a supermarket for a case of beer, and the highest being 18 was the most expensive, and that's kind of, I know you're getting like a larger variety of beers, say, but there may be 2 to 3 that you don't enjoy in that pack, maybe. And stuff like that, so you've kind of got to weigh it up and down, but if you are looking for the cheapest and most or the cheapest beer subscription service, you go to Flavorly, but out there are 10 plus just in this article.
I wonder if, and I don't know if it's on this Which comparison, but actually it's not just about the beers that you take into consideration when you're looking at these subscription boxes. There's things like literature that come with it, like Beer 52 have their own magazine, Brewdog have their own magazine and kind of things and as well, and I think Flavorly might have something as well if I remember correctly. But also, more importantly, it's about the snacks. The different kind of snacks you get in these boxes.
Oh, snacks.
So, the best ones I've had so far are dried peas. Doesn't sound very appetizing. Beer 52 do a mean dried pea.
Oh, well, I like a wasabi pea.
They have a wasabi thing. Yeah. Also, as well, I guess kind of a different take on that is Brewdogs isn't just about the beer, it's about sustainability. So every time in theory, they refer to themselves as the most sustainable subscription model. So, I think price is obviously one way that you can cut it. But, of course, there's a reason why there's a lot of different brewery subscriptions. There's a reason why people are choosing different ones. And I think all of these beer subscriptions are trying to carve out a little niche for themselves, aren't they?
Good. We done with that, or we want to move on to the pursuit of hoppiness?
No, good.
So, this week, in the pursuit of hoppiness, we're talking about Arbor Ales. I've wanted to talk about these guys for a while, kind of a little bit because I don't know that much about them, and I wanted to talk about them a little bit more. Going back to a recent conversation we had, going by the Richard Index, I cannot think of a brewery that better fits the description of a craft brewer.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
These guys are churning out more beers than you could shake a stick at. So many different types. Different beers.
We're not talking about the same beer.
And some, they make them for a while, and almost, as far as I could tell, no matter how popular they are, get rid of it, change it, we're doing something else.
See, that's how we feel. Well, like I said earlier, the definition of a craft brewer, they're continually crafting, they're changing, they're being why can't I pronounce that word today? Innovative. That's the word.
But arguably, that's not crafting. That's starting something up and then walking away from it.
Nah, they're crafting. It's fine.
Yeah, you're just they're afraid of commitment or something like that.
The non-committal beer makers.
Is that going to be a new phrase I'm just calling the non-committal?
Are these the F-boys of brewing? Because the reason I drank a beer they made, and I want to say it was like a year ago, but it was probably more like 5, was a beer called Waikikamu Cow.
Okay.
Which was pale ale based on like New Zealand, well, I think it was described as New Zealand. I think it's all brewed in Bristol, but they use some New Zealand hops. I just thought it was amazing. Yeah. You just can't get it now. We've not seen it for a long time. Yeah. Gorgeous hazy pale, which I would probably say is their forte. Rich, remind me, what have we got here? What's that one?
I'd just say, so the Moo Cow one.
Sorry, yes.
So you could say that's the one that got away.
A little bit.
That's
Exactly. The one that got away, exactly. I sat there, I had such a wonderful time with Moo Cow, and I don't know.
She never called.
They're just gone. So I had a job picking at my local beer supplier where I go for my craft stuff. I think they had 12 options from Arbor. I picked, with you guys in mind, particularly kind of fruity, juicy, hazy stuff. But it could have been anything. God, how many can you reel off? Another really popular one they've got at the moment is Shangri-La. But we've got Talus in Wonderland.
Talus in Wonderland and Texas Sunday Morning.
Now, so those are their like long title names. What are they actually as beers?
Oh, an American Pale Ale and a hazy Indian Pale Ale.
Which one's which?
Talus in Wonderland
is the American Pale Ale. And Texas Sunday Morning is the hazy Indian Pale Ale.
And Talus is, I wouldn't call it session, but it's more sessionable, so it's about 4.7, I think, 4.8. And then the Texas Sunday Morning is 6, nearly 7.
6.5%.
Yeah, I mean...
So what strikes me the most when I pick up Arbor, and I've seen Arbor before, if I'm honest, I always think the leaf looks like a maple leaf, so I've always assumed that they're Canadian for no good reason. But maybe there's some history behind why they've got a leaf. Maybe it's an arbor leaf, if that's even a thing. Maybe we'll go into that in a second. But what really always stands out for Arbor is just the size of their cans. They are through and through a 568ml, a 1-pinter can boys.
Big time.
Big time.
Big time boys.
So, that's doing something a bit different in this category. If we are talking about craft, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, let's not also get away from the fact it's very easy to go past without mentioning this. Premium pricing, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're getting a lot more
5,
for your money.
6, yeah. And understandably, there's a lot of beer in there, and it is probably, there's craft stuff that's not one of a kind, but in that direction, you are going to expect to pay a little bit more for it.
But having a pint down, usually you have 330ml cans, a lot smaller, almost half the amount. So to put everything into these big 1-pinters, they're saying a statement about their beers, I suppose. I'm not sure what that statement is. To your point, it's more expensive, but that's also because you're getting more volume. So I don't know. Most of these brewers would use smaller.
Would it be cynical to suggest that maybe they are up for people getting a bit more alcohol in them, and then they may associate with having quite a big night out, for want of a better phrase, and they say, "Oh, we're drinking that Arbor stuff, and we really liked it."
Or maybe to your point, and maybe this just sticks back to why they change out their lines so frequently.
Yeah.
Is that you're actually meant to pick up different cans and only have one of them. You're not meant to pick up more than one can of a single brew, because the idea is that you'll try one, and that's enough volume that you probably be like, okay, I'm done now. I don't need to have another one. And then the next day or later on, you'd be like, oh, I could try another one. Oh, I'll pick a different Arbor out the can. And so a different Arbor can up. So the idea is that you do try more of their short-lived beers.
That's made me think about something I'd love to know. There must be a bit of science behind it, or some way you could do research and find out properly, possibly beyond the reach of these humble podcasters. But how much of a single beer do you think you need to taste before you know decisively whether you really love it or not? Because that's the one thing I find when we taste stuff. I sometimes go through 2, 3, 4 sips. Like, yeah, I like that. But I do think I need to have more than a pint of a beer, depending on what it is. Imperial stouts aside. I think I need more than a pint of a beer before I make a decision as to whether I would buy it again.
You know what I'm really enjoying about Arbor? So I'm just looking at their website.
Not answering my question.
I was going to answer this question. Have you got some question?
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Whatever it was, it sounded good. Yeah. But I'd like to know.
I think to your point, I'm trying to make a distinction there of your parameters of where you like a beer. More than a pint of. Is that like you want to have like a one of those 660ml versions of it, or is it actually the decision to repeat buy? To buy again, to pick up and go for another one. Yeah, exactly. And I think that for me is a distinction I would say I would fall on, in that actually, do I like this beer? Would I purchase it again? And that is something you can test, and there is data out there to show that. Are these beers repeat buys? Are the same people or similar people or people who would once try it, they're not just going to try you once and then never touch you again? That's an indication they probably don't like you. Or is it the case that they'll keep coming back?
You're going into that world of Arbor being the F-boys and brewing again. I like you. I don't want to touch you again. It's a bit dark.
Yeah, you're not ashamed of having them.
Yeah. Do you know what though? To be honest, if I'm being quite honest and trying to be like sensible about it, my measurement there where I said more than a pint, if I think I'm being sort of critical of myself, I would probably say that I based that on me giving you the modal average, right? So the one that occurs most frequently is probably actually, I think I probably can make a fairly informed decision about it whenever I have had the amount that brewer has intended for you to have. So I was thinking, we talked about Thornbridge a little while ago.
Yeah.
Jaipur, they come in a 330ml can, I think, don't they?
They're slightly bigger, actually.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I beg your pardon. I must be getting them mixed up with something else.
No, they have got 330ml, but I think they also do a slightly bigger can.
It's putting paid to everything I've just said in that case.
No, carry on
But,
that.
yeah.
Yes, they have a third. Let's do.
There is a 330ml, yeah.
Yes, they have
Yeah.
a three. They are in 330ml cans.
As we're learning again, I'm keeping up my form of being the most suggestible Dreer binker. I was going to say Dreer binker.
Most successful drip.
Yeah.
I'm the most suggestible beer drinker apparently on earth.
So, carry on that thought. They do 330ml cans. So, what was your thought process?
I think that on the first occasion of my drinking Jaipur by Thornbridge, I had finished, and also let's bear in mind that one is pretty in your face and full on. I think by the end of that beer, I was able to go, yeah, I like that. I'm buying that again.
Well, I was just going to say, so the point you were talking about buying and trying all of their beers and everything like that, if this is the first brewery I think I've seen that does something called 12 fresh cans. That is every one of their beers in a box that will come to you.
Okay.
Which
so it's like a mixed case.
Yeah, like a mixed case. But you get mixed cases of maybe the stouts, or you get mixed cases of maybe the Indian Pale Ales or the IPA. But this is a mixed case of every single beer they have to offer at that moment
At
in time.
given time. Yeah.
At that moment in time, which I think is really cool. So it's called the 12 fresh cans, and they seem to acknowledge anything that's a new kind of beer, they call it a fresh can, which I think is really good. And that you have an option to spend £38.50 and you get all of their cans, so you can try everything they have
As
to
a
offer.
subscription service.
Probably it's a monthly thing.
Okay.
Like every time they'll drop fresh cans, they'll do.
We were almost getting a callback. So
No, yeah,
look at that.
But I think it's just a really good idea.
Yeah.
They throw all of those out there.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding. So do Arbor not have any beers that are year round, like core staple Arbor
As far
beers?
as I can tell, not. The one that at the moment that seems to be have the biggest or the most longevity is Shangri-La.
So I'm looking at their website, and they have a huge selection of beers that they have to offer. There is, they just have a massive amount. It would be silly for me to try and name them all, but yeah, they have a huge amount of beers that are just out there, and they seem to be brewing new ones all the time.
I wonder how this works with like awards, because obviously you can brew a beer, submit it to awards, it wins an award, and then usually that's a great sign that people will go and buy that beer and it's a validation. But if you discontinue your beers after a certain period of time, even if they've won awards, then like that's kind of good in the way that it's showing that the brewery is good and they can win awards. But at the same time, it's not giving people the opportunity to go and taste those award-winning beers. But maybe you're taking it more from a brewery perspective rather than a specific beer, and you're taking the award away from the beer itself and just saying, well, no, we brewed it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
anything we'll do will have that level
Yeah.
of like greatness,
Almost
even
like
if
being
it's
a,
not that beer anymore.
yeah.
Well, the equivalent of being a Michelin star chef instead of having a Michelin starred restaurant.
Dishes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and I think that's actually something that maybe Arbor are kind of like highlighting, that it's less about the award stuff, should be less about the beers and should be more about the brewery themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I like, and it's if you are confident enough to be able to go, yeah, all of our other products are going to be this level or above.
Do you know who this reminds me of, out of category? Supreme. Supreme do stuff which doesn't last very long, has huge amounts of hype, and the fashion brand, and it goes, and everyone goes crazy for it, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
I was laughing because we talked about jackets before, and he said doesn't last very long.
Yeah. Or the limited
5 minutes.
amount.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, yeah. So
It's poor quality.
are we more saying that Arbor could be the supreme of the beer world?
I bet they would love that.
They would love that comparison, because if they are, if you could throw, every single beer that you created, they're like, damn, that's a limited edition. I'm only going to get that because there's only going to be 500-600 of them made,
Yeah.
or it's only going to be available for 4 or 5 months of the year, sort of thing. That's an absolute win, because we have beer companies that produce maybe 1 or 2 beers a year that are limited edition, and people are like, yeah.
Particularly you.
Yeah. Particularly myself. But if Arbor are going to
What? There's not many of them. I must have it.
But if Arbor are going to go, right, we've only got, this beer's only out for 4 months, people are going to go, well, damn, I've got to drink this for 4 months, solid.
Yeah.
That's a really good business model. But it's also very hard to uphold. You've got to be creating solid beers regularly, and Barber is really enjoying Arbor beers, as he's mentioned many times in this podcast. It's a hard thing to uphold, but if they can do it,
It's my theme I've talked about before, where I can kind of get how different years, different times of years, these, particularly for these craft brewers who are saying we want only the best fresh, natural ingredients, I think it makes a lot of sense, because I think there's lots of breweries who will tell you that you can, but I don't think you can exert that amount of control over what happens when these natural ingredients are being grown, particularly your hops.
No, you can't.
And your malted barley. That's 2 of the 5. The 5 magic ingredients of beer.
The 5 points of beer.
How do you grow water?
I'm really trying to find out about this leaf. I really can't get this out of my head.
We should talk about what they look like, I suppose, as well. I mean, I do kind of want to say that again, as a former Bristol dweller, I have a bit of a soft spot for Arbor, just because they are so achingly Bristol for me.
Yeah,
so edgy. And I mean, I'm let's be honest, I'm the least edgy person on earth. But it is this quite cool design, funny names. Like quite bold design as well. Someone out there
bold but simple.
Yeah, and someone out there will absolutely love that typeface that they use, which is just as like crystal clear as it could be. I mean, I know they do a little bit of black and white, but it's just, there's no faffing about there, is there?
Do you know what's so fascinating about this as well is they're doing horizontal branding. Their name is written up the side of the can, which makes a lot of sense for the size of the can that it is, to make full use and you get a much bigger logo. But that is very contemporary. That's new.
Real head tilter.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Like, it's also like, that's quite contemporary about it. The naming of how they're doing it, you know, Talus in Wonderland, Texas Sunday morning, Shangri-La, like, it's something a bit different, something interesting.
You're also not squinting your eyes to find out how much is in the can, are you?
No,
big
kind of like
letters.
Key information they're giving a little bit more readily.
They've got a lot more space because they're using these big cans. I like also as well that the texture, although this is there must be still quite a small brewery, because all of their cans, it's their labels are stuck directly onto the cans themselves.
Yeah.
So all of their cans are the same underneath, and then they direct apply or hand apply, you know, adhesive labels on the side, but they feel nice, don't they?
No, yeah, they
add a bit of texture to them.
That would be my criticism, actually. I was hoping for more gemstones, more like shiny little bedazzle. Yeah.
You know what the worst part is every single beer bottle you have since trying my homebrew is going to be just sub.
It will be just
exactly. Yeah.
Also, sorry, I've just noticed
it was almost going to be the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Drinking your beer.
If you hold
in a good way.
this to the light, they have the Arbor leaf imprinted in the back of the in like the back of the label,
almost like a
key line. You mean?
Yeah,
there's a key line in the back.
I did not know what that was, but yeah.
I was going to say watermark, but I know that's not what it is.
Yeah, I literally just noticed that because
there's loads of them.
Yeah, and that I literally just saw from. But that is cool.
I really hope there's people drinking along to this right now and having a right old look at their cans.
Or that when they do pick up one of these big cans, they will have a look at a closer inspection. Upon closer inspection, you will find some holographic marks basically behind of key lines of this Arbor symbol, which I'm still think are maple leaves, but they're not. I know they're not.
Aren't they oak tree leaves that have obviously fallen from the tree?
Obviously.
Yeah, because, I don't know, maybe they don't look like they're on.
I don't know my leaves as well as I should do. I must hold my hands up there.
You need to just have a blooming word with yourself, mate, in that case.
Sort yourself out.
But, yeah, I mean, interesting. Obviously, soft spot for a Bristol-based company. Started out in 2007.
Crafty AF, I would say.
I like their approach to to beers, it's quite unusual to not really have a core range of beers and everything always changes. I think that's fascinating as a business model and a brewing. It keeps it certainly very exciting for consumers. And I think because you've got the most experience with Arbor by the sound of things, tasting it, if you're saying that they've had fantastic standout beers in the past and these two you quite like, then that's obviously a good sign that they keep delivering.
A little bit like a lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
If those people who enjoy these beers are probably going to engage with them and are going to be looking at what comes next.
Yeah. Keeps you on your toes. I mean, for me, my personal preference out of the two from the American Pale and the Hazy India Pale Ale is the Hazy. I think that's got so much flavour to it.
See, I'm really enjoying the American Pale Ale. I think it's I'm enjoying the bitterness that's coming through.
Well, we've gone down these lines before, actually, where you've gravitated more towards the pale ales and I've gone more towards the IPAs, and I think the haziness of that makes it really fruity.
I picked these because I figured they were the more juicy ones, but they do all sorts. So go and check them out. You'll find your own favourite.
Oh, and they're all vegan. And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich, and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter, and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.